wrestling to do. PCO was a champion. I think PCO would have made a nice addition to Righteous. What are your thoughts of PCO and fitting that bill?
Yeah, I mean, I could see why one would say that.
Right.
You know? I could certainly see, he's not human. He's the Frankenstein of pro wrestling, man. But one thing for sure is man, the stuff that he does is just wild, and it's just, I respect him for he's been around a long time, you know what I mean, and to still be able to go the way he does is, to me, man, it's just that's very impressive, you know what I mean, but as far as the Righteous is concerned, I just think it just, stuff sometimes just doesn't line up, and it doesn't, call for certain things. So I think it just didn't line up in the sense of where he was, but I mean, seeing him win the Ring of Honor World Championship after, coming back and becoming, the Frankenstein, the PCO, charging that car battery of the heart, man, that he's got by Destro and sparking back up and winning the Ring of Honor World Championship. I mean, that's pretty impressive, you know what I mean, to have that, goal set in his mind and, wanting to come back and pull that off is, pretty cool.
It is. Horror movie-esque, really is. Okay, so haunted houses. Are you into haunted houses? Is that something that you've been to haunted houses? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, man, I think everybody loves a good haunted house, especially around Halloween time, you know what I'm saying? But it's hard to find a good one, you know what I mean? Sometimes you can get a couple holes in the walls that are locally, but I feel to get the good ones, you got to kind of hop in a car and do a little travel to find some good ones. But there are some good ones out there, man. I know Spooky World up in New Hampshire was always a good one that we went to as kids. You know what I mean? My father would bring us there as kids, and that was always a good one when we were younger. It still kind of holds up. They still do a pretty good job with it, so that's one to visit if there is any. But yeah, man, I dig a good haunted house.
Would the family ever decide to do their own haunted house?
You could just walk through our living room and get that experience.
That's great. How about horror books? And I know, listen, even if you're not a diehard, a lot of people know Stephen King. Were you into reading any horror books, any Stephen King books?
I was never big into reading as a younger guy, but I started recently reading a lot of books. I go more for Stephen King's great. You mentioned him, and he's a fantastic author. I mean, look how many movies are just based off his books alone. And but I like a lot of the true crime books. I just got a book, a giant book called Last Book on the Left, which is kind of based off the true crime podcast, Last Podcast on the Left. And they have alphabetical order of all the serial killers that were ever existed in America that you can kind of read through it. And there's a lot of cool books on that stuff, but I do love Stephen King books now. You know what I mean? I've just started recently in the last year gotten into reading a lot more, which is kind of good for the mind. You know what I mean? So those are kind of the books that I'm into.
Yeah, it's interesting too because in reading the books, and this happens with a lot of movies, not just horror movies, but you could sort of gauge if it is made into a movie. Oh, wow, the book was different than the movie in this or that. Yeah,
man, and you can always even if you saw the movie first and you go back and read the book, sometimes they have those ones where the book's better than the movie, vice versa, what basically you just said, you know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting in that aspect, too.
And you might be able to understand, too, why different things happened about a scene or in a book.
Right. Yeah, they get into a little more detail sometimes in the book where you have a better understanding.
Now, maybe you've done this. Maybe you've all done this. I don't know. Do you and or your wife ever think about writing a horror book or a horror blog or doing something on YouTube?
I tried to do a like a couple years back, man. I tried to do like a it was kind of like a YouTube kind of thing, YouTube show, where it's kind of like you go over like different horror like locations or movies and stuff like that. But it's just I didn't have the time to keep up with it, and I just don't want to disappoint anybody starting something, and then I can't really, you know what I mean? So I didn't want to go too far into it where it just didn't last, So, but it was always a thought.
Have you been in a horror movie?
I have.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, gosh. Okay. We're almost... Well, I'll let you go in a few minutes here. I thank you so much for the time, too.
Hey.
I had a couple more questions, but yeah, if you could tell me about the movie, that is cool.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, the horror movie, it's called Jungle Room. And the narrator is Michael Madsen. He's... I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was in... Johnny Brasco, he was the dad in Free Willy. He's an actor that has quite the credentials. And
Michael Madsen was a tough guy actor. He has that tough guy sort of like mafioso look to him. I know Michael Madsen. I remember him in that movie with, was it Al Pacino? You said John...
Man, you know who it is.
Yeah, I do know who it is. And
Yep.
Johnny Depp, I think Johnny Depp, right? That was Johnny Brasco.
Yeah,
Johnny Brasco, like you said.
Yep. And he's the narrator for it, but basically I play the character of Damon, who's the serial killer of the film. And it's about a bunch of college kids on winter break that are at a manor, like a big mansion manor there. And the character Damon is connected to this ancient Indian tribe looking for this ring that has some sort of power to this ring that's connected to Damon and this family. And he's in search of this ring, and he stumbles across the manor because he feels that's the ring that could possibly be at this manor. And, all the college kids are partying on a winter break in this manor, and Damon pretty much goes to this manor looking for the ring, encountering all the college kids partying. Which, man, it was a great experience. It was cool because, we go back to talking about how, as a kid, I was always big into horror films, and, in wrestling, those were my two getaways, from my childhood, and it was cool to actually get a call to be asked to be in one of these things, and playing the killer is just that's just the cherry on top, and staying in the manor for 2 weeks, it was basically I lived like a vampire. Do you know what I'm saying? I would sleep all day and then wake up at night and film from 5 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning, and you sleep all day and then do it again, repeat every single day for 2 weeks for my scenes. And even then, it wasn't done. I had to go back and do some more. But it's an interesting film. If I was to compare it to anything, I would almost compare it to a Scream with a different vibe, because with the kids partying, it kind of reminds me of the ending of Scream when they're all partying in that one house. It's kind of similar to that, with it taking more place, the whole, majority of the movie taking place in this house, and outside of it, with Damon searching for the ring. And Damon's a silent mask killer, so he wears this really cool wooden mask that he created. But as far as release, it was supposed to come out a while ago. I mean, I did this film maybe 2 years and over, and they hit a lot of bumps in the road with investors and whatnot. But everything's cool now, back on track. COVID hit, and that put it on the shelf for a while, man. And now we're just kind of waiting. I think possibly January, February should be the release. Then you'll be able to watch that Amazon Prime and Netflix. So.
Jungle Room, that is so cool. And I'm just wondering too, even though if your character isn't saying a lot, but you're doing a lot, do you go to acting classes? Do you do things like that? And how did you land the role?
The director, David Gear, he's a big wrestling fan, and he saw Ring of Honor, man, and I knew him a little bit before that because I did a little couple, background things, you know what I mean? Like, just put this guy right here and it worked, you know what I'm saying? Like, where you just kind of see me for a couple seconds. And he just thought, like, the look fit for the character, you know, with the, I guess, my hair and everything, whatnot. He, you know, the character wears, like, a black hoodie, you know, black pants, black boots, work boots, and then has this mask with, like, feathers dangling from his hair. And it's a really cool concept, the way they came up with the Damon character, but he felt like that I fit the role for it, and just came for the look wise, and then just you know asked if I wanted to be a part of it, and you know he basically said, man, like, create however you think this character would be, like mannerisms and whatnot, and I think just from being so invested for all the years that I have into what I like, it was kind of like a natural feeling to be involved in such a thing. You know, you dig what I'm saying here? Like, it's just like kind of came like natural as far as like, you know, movements, whatever they were, because I've seen so many, and it wasn't an imitation of other mannerisms from other films. It was just kind of like an easy kind of come to what they explain what this character is, or I read the script of what the character is, and I just kind of base it off that and kind of go from there.
How interesting and how cool is that? You never know who will see you.
Yeah.
You're in Ring of Honor, you're doing your thing, man, and David's there, and he's into wrestling, and he sees you, and then one thing leads to another. That is so cool.
Yeah, it was a blast, man, and I can't wait for it to come out. It should be cool, and you know, I'm sure people love it, people hate it, but that's how the world goes.
Yeah, that's how everything goes. Come on. Especially with social media. That's all right. As long as they're all talking about it, I guess. That's good. You mentioned Michael Madsen, too, and we'll just touch on this in the movie, and then we'll wrap it up. But I'm interested. I don't know if you got to meet Michael then, or with even the other cast members. You mentioned David's a wrestling fan. Did you know if any of the other cast members were into wrestling?
I'll tell you this. Flip Gordon is in it.
Really? Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Does he play one of the college kids?
He definitely does, man. He plays the jock of the college kid group. You know what I mean? And this is this is Flip going back, like short hair Flip, like clean shaven Flip. Like, so he fit the role perfectly. And yeah, Flip Gordon is in that as well with me. He had a blast as well. I forget his character's name, but he did a great job with it too, man. And Michael Madsen was kind of just brought on recently, and that was the kind of holdup, is they were looking for somebody, I think, with some sort of a name, you know, to put behind the film to a degree that can kind of be this narrator, and he just jumped on. Within the past, like 2 months, they just put him on, and I remember just seeing the article about it, and that he jumped on the film and stuff. So I wasn't able to meet him yet, but I know there's supposed to be some setup where he and I get together for this narration thing or whatever they're doing. I think it might be like for the DVD cover poster shots or whatever it is. But I believe I'm supposed to meet with him in the coming future before the movie's like actually released.
Oh, that'll be good. And he has a pro wrestling look to him, by the way.
Yeah, right?
He could be a bad heel manager or something, if not.
that face, man. That face of a killer, you know?
And it's something you mentioned, Flip. Okay, no Don Jardine alerts. No Don Jardine alerts here. But I'm hopeful maybe you take Flip Gordon out in this movie. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, you gotta wait and see. I'm not gonna spoil too much.
No. All right, so cool. All right, we'll wrap it up with this. A couple of just silly things. They're not so hardcore horror, so I don't know. But I'll ask anyway. Addams Family or Munsters?
Munsters.
Was it a bit more at that horror-esque look? Is that why?
Yeah, I think like the Munsters are just so like, yeah, that traditional like monster movie vibe, and just like they're the classic, you know what I mean? Although, man, like everybody knows that my entrance theme, you snap your fingers along with it, and the Addams Family would probably do that along too, but I'm gonna go Munsters on this.
Thoughts of Rob Zombie?
Oh, Rob Zombie's awesome, and it's funny because like I get adhere to them a lot, and it's not an intentional thing. I guess people don't realize that more than one person can have dreadlocks, but that's kind of like okay. But I am a fan of Rob Zombie. I think he's amazing, and I think Devil's Rejects is one of my favorite films. So I think the character of Otis Driftwood, played by Bill Moseley, man, is just that's a great character. One of my favorite characters, other than Jack Torrance in The Shining. But Zombie's awesome.
Most famous person that you met, or I'll put it to you this way: who have you met in horror film genre who you were stoked about meeting, got to meet?
There's been a lot that I've been able to.
Yeah, because you go to those conventions, you go to spooky cons and things like that.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I've done some signings with a lot of cool people. Again, Bill Moseley is awesome, and who was really cool to my daughter, and sometimes you run into just certain things that happen that you're like, wow, what a person, because I remember we were waiting in line to meet, because my wife again is a Scream fan, so she wanted to meet Matthew Willard. So we met him, and we had my daughter who was 2 at the time, and he pulled her over and gave her like a Scooby-Doo autograph and told her, you don't know who this is yet, but you will. And then half a year later, she became a huge Scooby-Doo fan, and it was just really, cool of him to do that. You know what I mean? For her, as a little kid, having that experience, and just it was a really cool gesture. You know what I mean? And I thought that was a cool moment, for our daughter. And one of the coolest things that I probably have done was for me as a kid, being a big fan of like Friday the 13th and whatnot, is at one of the cons got to work out with Kane Hodder, who plays Jason. So, working out with Kane Hodder in the gym was a pretty cool experience. So that's probably my one cool experience that I've had. I know that's coming from like that nostalgic, Friday the 13th fan, the young man loving Jason Voorhees and, lifting weights with Kane Hodder. It's, the Jason of the world.
So many interesting stories. I could talk to you forever, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ask, favorite Halloween candy for Vincent?
Oh, man. Favorite Halloween candy?
No, don't say candy corn. Please don't say candy corn.
Oh, man, you know what? I do not like candy corn.
Oh, I don't know who... Well, actually, there is one person, I won't name him, that I interviewed but I think he was just doing that because he's a heel.
Who's that? Matt Taven?
No, it wasn't an ROH guy, so I won't say. He was maybe it was Matt Taven. Good job by you.
Candy corns are out of the question. I'm gonna go. You know what? I like the berry Skittles.
Yeah. Skittles are good.
The berry Skittles, and if we're gonna go chocolate, I'm probably a Snickers guy.
Yeah, Snickers are good. That's a safe one. Almond Joy. I like Almond Joy a lot. Snickers is good too.
Almond Joy is a good one.
Oh man, you're getting something if you go trick or treat and get Almond Joy, because not many of the residents have Almond Joys. When you get Almond Joy, it's something special.
Yeah. You either get a Three Musketeer or Hershey's.
Yeah, Three Musketeer. Yes.
When you hit an Almond Joy, man, you hit the jackpot.
Yes, you did. You said Vincent said it. That's right. All right, we're gonna wrap it up with this. I'm gonna let you do the social media, but I have one question more, and however you want to answer it is fine. We're talking about Vincent and the Righteous. Could Danhausen be a good addition to the Righteous?
Oh, man. Danhausen is...
No swearing! No swearing!
Yeah. He called me one time, Danhausen, when he was trying to get a job at Ring of Honor, and I had sworn because I couldn't believe that he got my number somehow. So I was kind of thrown off, so I had to swear, but he censored me, so that kind of pissed me off. But Danhausen is an interesting cat, and I don't know, man. I don't know if Danhausen, because he's very nice and very evil, but I don't know how much he can lean on that very evil side to get what I need to get done here.
Pee Wee Herman should not be in the Righteous. I love Danhausen, but Pee Wee Herman should not be in there. He does that tequila thing. That doesn't fit, right? Am I right, Vincent?
Yeah, I mean, Never know, though. Maybe Danhausen can flip a switch, and all of a sudden, you know, he has the same goal I do. Take Matt Taven off of Ring of Honor television.
Yes, well played, sir. Well played. Vincent, thank you so much for the time. Do you have social media out there? Anyone interested in checking you out?
Yeah, man. You can follow me on Twitter at the Horror King VM. Instagram's the Horror King Official, and Facebook is the Horror King Official. And you can get all the teas at ROH Pro Shop. And you know, you can catch me, you know, destroying Matt Taven once again on the Honor Club, ringofhonor.com, ROHwrestling.com.
In the ring, out of the ring, he is truly the Horror King. Thank you, Vincent.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.